You know that feeling when you can sense something's about to shift, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is? Like there's this pressure building beneath the surface of your life, and you're just waiting for it to break through? Yeah, that's February 17th. And I'm going to tell you exactly why this date is different from anything we've experienced in the past 8 years. Because this isn't just another new moon. This is a solar eclipse in Aquarius at 28 degrees. And if you understand what late degree eclipses do, you know they don't introduce brand new chapters. They finish the ones you've been writing for years. They bring things that have been simmering beneath the surface into sharp, unavoidable focus. February 17th, 7 a.m. Eastern Time. That's when the new moon happens in Aquarius, but it's also an annular solar eclipse, what they call a ring of fire. And here's what makes this one particularly significant. It's happening just 3 days before Saturn and Neptune meet up in Aries for the first time in decades. So you've got this eclipse amplifying that entire energy. Your sense of security, your structures, the way you've been doing things, all of it's getting a cosmic reset whether you're ready or not. And look, before I get deeper into this, go ahead and like this video and subscribe if you're not already. And drop a comment saying ready for the reset so I know you're feeling this too. Because honestly, if you've been sensing something building lately, like your life is about to shift in a way you can't quite name yet, that's exactly what this eclipse is doing. Alright, so let me explain what's actually going on here and why February 17th matters so much. Aquarius is the sign of the collective, right? It's about communities, friendships, social structures, how we fit into the bigger picture. When an eclipse happens in Aquarius, especially this close to the North Node, it's asking you to look at where you belong, and more importantly, where you don't belong anymore. Some of you are going to realize that the groups you've been part of, the friend circles you've maintained, even the version of yourself you've been presenting to the world, it doesn't fit who you're becoming. And that realization might feel uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Now 28 degrees of Aquarius is almost the very end of the sign. Late degree eclipses are completion points. They're not about starting something brand new, they're about finishing what's been in progress for a while. Think about it like this. You've been working on something, maybe a project, maybe an identity shift, maybe a way of relating to people, and you've gotten almost to the end, but you haven't quite closed the chapter. This eclipse closes it for you. Sometimes gently, sometimes not so gently, but either way something reaches a conclusion. The last time we had a solar eclipse in Aquarius was back in 2018, February 15th to be exact. And actually, I remember that eclipse pretty vividly because I was in a 6-year relationship at the time and I had relocated to support my partner through an important phase of her career. Things seemed stable on the surface, but there was this underlying feeling I kept pushing away. When that eclipse hit within days, the relationship ended. She decided she wanted to move on, and honestly, part of me saw it coming even if I hadn't admitted it to myself. What was interesting though was my reaction. I didn't fall apart. I felt this unexpected sense of freedom, like I could suddenly breathe again. I threw myself into work, felt clear-headed, focused, almost relieved. That emotional clarity lasted about 3 months. And then, out of nowhere, around May of that year, this intense wave hit me. Suddenly, I had this overwhelming urge to reach out, to process what had happened, to understand it all. The feelings caught up to me months later, which is so typical of Aquarius eclipses. You see the situation clearly first, mentally process it, make logical decisions, and then 3 months down the line, the emotional reality lands. I didn't get back into that relationship, by the way. I met someone new eventually. But that experience taught me something crucial about how Aquarius eclipses work. They give you mental clarity before emotional clarity. They let you make clean breaks before you fully feel the weight of them. And that's actually a gift, because it means you can act from a place of wisdom rather than raw emotion. So if you remember what was happening in your life in early 2018, look at those themes. Because this eclipse is reopening that storyline, but with 8 years of growth behind you. What were you figuring out about yourself back then? What friendships were ending or beginning? What version of you was emerging? Pay attention to those patterns because they're relevant now, but you're different. You've learned things. You're not repeating the same cycle, you're completing it at a higher level. Here's the thing about Aquarius energy. It's not emotional in the way Cancer or Pisces is. Aquarius is cerebral, detached, observant. When eclipses happen here, the shifts happen in your awareness first. You see things differently before you feel them differently. And then later, weeks or months down the line, the emotional impact catches up. So if you're going through this eclipse thinking I should be feeling more, don't worry. The feelings come later. Right now, you're supposed to be seeing clearly, maybe for the first time in a while. And what are you seeing? Well, that depends on where Aquarius falls in your chart. But collectively, we're all looking at the systems and structures in our lives. The friend groups we've outgrown, the communities we're part of by default rather than choice, the roles we've been playing because we thought we were supposed to. This eclipse asks, is that still true? Is that still you? Because if it's not, this is your exit point. Now, this eclipse is also squaring Uranus in Taurus, and Uranus is Aquarius's ruling planet. So there's this rebellious, unpredictable breakthrough energy mixed in. You might feel sudden urges to make changes you've been putting off, sudden clarity about what needs to go, sudden courage to actually do something about it. Uranus square the eclipse brings that abrupt, lightning strike realization energy. It's not slow and steady, it's fast and definitive. And honestly, after months of maybe hemming and hawing about certain decisions, that kind of clarity is a gift. Here's my thing about eclipses, and I've learned this through watching them play out in my own life and in countless charts over the years. I used to think they were these dramatic, fated events where you had no control. And yeah, there's truth to that. But what I've learned is that eclipses respond to the work you've already been doing. If you've been honest with yourself, facing your patterns, making gradual changes, the eclipse feels like momentum. It feels like finally. But if you've been avoiding, resisting, staying in denial, that's when eclipses feel chaotic. They're not punishing you, they're just catching you up to where you should have been if you'd been listening all along. So if this eclipse feels intense for you, ask yourself, what have I been avoiding? What truth have I been skirting around? What change have I known needed to happen but kept postponing? Because the eclipse isn't creating the situation, it's revealing what was already there. It's pulling back the curtain. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the point. The other thing happening here is that this eclipse is conjunct the North Node in Pisces. The North Node is about where you're headed, what you're learning, what you're meant to evolve toward. With the North Node in Pisces, that's about surrender, faith, going with the flow instead of trying to control everything. So this Aquarius eclipse, which brings mental clarity and detachment, is helping you see what you need to release so you can move toward that Piscean surrender. It's like you need to understand what's not working before you can let it go with grace. Let's talk about who's feeling this the most. If you've got planets or your rising sign in late Aquarius, late Taurus, late Leo, or late Scorpio, like 24 to 30 degrees of those signs, this eclipse is landing directly on you. You're one of the people going through the most significant shift. For you, it's not just about changing your mind about something, it's about changing your entire trajectory. Something in your life is ending, so something else can begin, and you might not have full control over which part ends. That's the nature of eclipses. They bring fated events, moments where the universe steps in and moves things along because you've been stuck. Aquarius risings, this eclipse is in your first house. Can we talk about how rare this opportunity is? Like you get a cosmic green light to completely reinvent yourself. And it's not just permission, the universe is actively helping you do it. That's what this eclipse is. It's the universe saying we've been waiting for you to be ready, and now you are, so let's go. Your entire identity is up for revision. How you see yourself, how others see you, even physical appearance changes are possible. This is your year to reinvent yourself, and this eclipse kicks that process off. You've been thinking about it for a while. maybe trying on different versions of yourself in small ways, and now the universe is saying, commit. Pick a direction and go. Taurus risings, this hits your 10th house of career and public reputation. Unexpected changes in your professional life are likely. Maybe a job ends, maybe a career path you thought was set shifts, maybe your relationship with success itself changes. The key here is flexibility. Uranus is in your sign too, so you've been learning to adapt for a while now. This eclipse just accelerates that process in your career sector. What you thought professional success looked like might completely transform, and that transformation, while uncomfortable, is actually aligning you with something more authentic. Leo risings, 7th house. Partnerships, relationships, one-on-one connections. Eclipses here bring relationship turning points. Sometimes that means someone new enters. Sometimes it means someone exits. Either way, your understanding of what you need in partnership is evolving, and this eclipse clarifies that. If a relationship can't hold who you're becoming, this eclipse reveals it. And I know that's scary. Partnership houses are vulnerable territory. But here's the truth. Staying in dynamics that don't fit your growth doesn't protect you, it stunts you. This eclipse might hurt, but it's honest. And honesty, even when it's painful, is always the path forward. And Scorpio risings, 4th house. Home, family, foundations. This is about where you feel safe and who feels like home to you. You might experience physical moves, changes in living situations, or shifts in family dynamics. Or you might just realize that the foundation you've been building your life on doesn't support the person you're becoming. And I know that foundation-level shifts are scary. When the ground beneath you feels unstable, your first instinct is to grab onto anything solid. But sometimes the thing you're grabbing onto is the problem. This eclipse is asking you to trust that even when foundations crumble, you don't crumble with them. You're stronger than your circumstances. Your sense of home needs to come from within you, not from external structures that can shift. For everyone else, look at where 28 degrees Aquarius falls in your chart. That's the house where this eclipse is activating change for you. Even if you're not one of the fixed signs taking the direct hit, you're still feeling this. Maybe it's subtler, maybe it takes longer to unfold, but the theme of letting go of old structures to make room for new ones, that's universal right now. Now, here's what I want you to understand about eclipses. They're not one-day events. The actual eclipse happens on February 17th, sure, but the effects unfold over 6 months. This is the opening of an eclipse portal, the first in a series of Leo-Aquarius eclipses that runs through 2026 and into early 2028. So whatever begins or ends around February 17th, that's just the first chapter. The full story takes time to reveal itself. And because this eclipse is so close to the North Node in Pisces, it's pointing you in the direction of growth. The North Node is about where you're headed, what you're learning, what you're meant to evolve toward. With the North Node in Pisces, that's about surrender, faith, going with the flow instead of trying to control everything. So this Aquarius eclipse, which brings mental clarity and detachment, is helping you see what you need to release, so you can move toward that Piscean surrender. It's like you need to understand what's not working before you can let it go with grace. Practically speaking, here's what you might experience around this eclipse: sudden endings or beginnings in friendships. That's big with Aquarius. Someone might drift out of your life naturally, or you might realize you need to create distance from a friend group that's no longer serving you. Or, on the flip side, you might meet people who feel instantly aligned with who you're becoming. Pay attention to who shows up in your life around this time. Aquarius rules authentic connection over superficial networking. The people meant for your next chapter will feel different. They'll challenge you in good ways, inspire you, make you feel like you can be yourself without performance or pretense. You might also get sudden clarity about your goals and aspirations. Aquarius rules the 11th house naturally, which is about your dreams for the future, what you're working toward, what you hope to build. This eclipse might shift your vision. What you thought you wanted 6 months ago might not be what you want now, and this eclipse gives you permission to change course. Don't fight it. Let your vision evolve. Goals aren't meant to be static, they're meant to grow with you. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is admit that what you've been working toward no longer excites you and pivot. Technology and communication might get weird too. Eclipses, especially in Aquarius with that Uranus square, can bring tech glitches, unexpected messages, communication breakdowns. Back up your files, double-check your emails, and don't be surprised if you get a random text from someone you haven't heard from in years. Eclipse season brings that kind of synchronicity. Messages arrive out of time. People reappear. Old conversations resurface. It's all part of the process of resolution and completion. And emotionally, you might feel detached or numb, which is kind of strange for such a big cosmic event, right? But that's Aquarius. You're observing more than feeling right now. You're processing mentally before the emotional wave hits. And that's okay. That detachment is actually useful because it lets you see situations objectively without getting lost in the feelings. The feelings come later, trust me. Around May or June, when the emotional reality catches up to the mental clarity you're gaining now, you'll understand why this detachment was necessary. It allowed you to make clear decisions without being overwhelmed. Here's something else about this eclipse. It's happening during the Chinese New Year, the year of the fire horse. Fire horse energy is intense. It's passionate, driven, pioneering. It doesn't wait around. So you've got this detached, observant Aquarius eclipse energy combined with this fiery, forward-moving horse year energy, and the combination is powerful. It's like see clearly, then move decisively. Don't overthink it once you know what needs to happen. The clarity is the signal. The action follows naturally. And you know what? I keep coming back to this idea of completion, because that's what late-degree eclipses do. They finish cycles. And I think a lot of us have been in this weird limbo space for the past few years. Like we knew things needed to change, but we couldn't quite make the change stick. Or we started transformations but got stuck halfway through. This eclipse is the cosmic push that finishes what you started. It closes the loop. It brings resolution, even if the resolution isn't exactly what you pictured. For some of you, that resolution looks like walking away from something that no longer fits. For others, it's finally committing to something you've been unsure about. For others, it's realizing that what you thought was the goal was actually just a stepping stone, and now you can see the real goal beyond it. However it shows up for you, trust it. Eclipses don't mess around. If something's ending, it's because it needs to. If something's beginning, it's because you're ready, even if you don't feel ready. Now, I mentioned that Saturn-Neptune conjunction happening 3 days after this eclipse, and I can't stress enough how much that amplifies everything. Saturn is structure, responsibility, reality. Neptune is dissolution, spirituality, the intangible. When they meet in Aries, which is the sign of initiation and new beginnings, you get this paradox of building something new while old foundations dissolve. It's like trying to construct a house while the ground beneath you is shifting. Uncomfortable, yes, but also necessary. This is why your sense of security might feel shaky right now. Because the things you've been relying on, the structures you've built your identity around, some of them are dissolving. And that's scary. But here's the thing. They're dissolving because they were built on outdated foundations. They were structures from an older version of you, and they can't hold who you're becoming. So they're coming down so you can build something better, something more aligned, something that actually supports your evolution. And with this eclipse happening so close to that Saturn-Neptune meeting, you're getting a preview. You're seeing what needs to come down before the rebuilding even starts. That's actually a gift because it gives you time to process, to grieve if you need to prepare for what's next. By the time Saturn and Neptune meet on the 20th, you'll already be in motion. The dissolution won't shock you because the eclipse already showed you what was fragile, what was ready to crumble, what needed to go. So what do you actually do with this energy? How do you work with an eclipse instead of just being swept along by it? First, pay attention. Notice what's coming up for you around February 17th. What conversations are you having? What realizations are hitting? What synchronicities are showing up? Eclipses speak through symbols and patterns, so if you're paying attention, you'll see the messages. Dreams might be vivid, random encounters might carry meaning, things people say might land differently. This is the universe communicating, and your job is to listen. Second, be willing to let go. I know that's easier said than done, but eclipses demand release. If something's trying to leave your life, let it. If a friendship is fading, let it fade. If a version of yourself feels outdated, stop clinging to it. The more you resist what the eclipse is trying to clear out, the harder the process becomes. Trust that what leaves makes room for what's meant to arrive. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you release what's not working, space opens for what does work. But you have to release first. You can't hold on to the old and expect the new to arrive. It doesn't work that way. Third, stay flexible. Uranus squaring this eclipse means expect the unexpected. Plans might change suddenly. Opportunities might appear out of nowhere. Disruptions might throw you off course. And the best thing you can do is adapt. Don't dig your heels in trying to force things to stay the same. Flow with the changes. That Pisces North Node energy wants you to practice surrender anyway, so this is good training. Every time something shifts unexpectedly, you get to practice saying, okay, what's this showing me? Instead of no, this wasn't the plan. That shift in perspective changes everything. And fourth, journal. Write down what's happening, what you're thinking, what you're realizing. Because 6 months from now, when the eclipse effects have fully unfolded, you're going to want to look back and see where it all started. Eclipses work in chapters, and documenting the beginning helps you understand the arc of the story as it plays out. What feels confusing now will make perfect sense in retrospect, but you need the record to track the pattern. One more thing, and I learned this the hard way, don't make permanent decisions during eclipse season if you can avoid it. See what's revealed, sure. Feel what needs to change, absolutely. But the actual executing of big changes? Give it a few weeks if possible. Let the dust settle. Because eclipses bring clarity, but they also bring intensity, and sometimes you can't tell the difference between a true knowing and an emotional reaction until you've had some space from it. If something still feels true 2 weeks after the eclipse, then act. But in the immediate aftermath, just observe. Just notice. The wisdom comes in the pause. Look, I'm not going to lie to you and say this eclipse is going to be easy. Eclipses rarely are. They shake things up. They force change. They bring endings that we're not always ready for. But they also bring liberation. They cut cords that have been draining us. They open doors we didn't know existed. They push us toward versions of ourselves that we've been too afraid or too comfortable to become on our own. This Aquarius eclipse is asking you to step into a future that looks different from your past. To join communities that actually align with who you are now, not who you were 5 years ago. To embrace the parts of yourself that don't fit the mold. To stop performing for approval and start showing up as your actual self. And yeah, that might mean some people don't get it. Some people might fall away. But the ones who are meant to stay, the ones who resonate with your authentic frequency, they'll find you. That's how Aquarius works. It values authenticity over popularity. It values true connection over surface-level belonging. And this eclipse is clearing out anything that doesn't meet that standard. So as you move through this eclipse, remember that the discomfort is temporary, but the growth is permanent. What you release now clears space for what's coming. What you see clearly now guides your decisions for the next 6 months. And what you choose to become now sets the trajectory for the next chapter of your life. You're not losing anything real. You're releasing what was never truly aligned. And in that release you find freedom. In that clarity you find direction. In that completion you find the beginning of something better. This is big. February 17th is big. And if you're feeling it, if you're already sensing the shift, trust that. You're not imagining it. The universe is rearranging things in your favor, even when it doesn't feel like it. Even when the ending hurts, or the change is uncomfortable, or the clarity is brutal, it's all moving you toward alignment. It's all pointing you toward the life you're actually meant to be living, not the one you settled for out of fear or habit or other people's expectations. Alright, if this resonated, leave a like and subscribe, and drop ready for the reset in the comments. I want to see who's going through this with clear eyes and open hearts. And hey, take care of yourself through this eclipse. Rest when you need to. The changes are happening whether you push or not, so you might as well be gentle with yourself through the process. Trust the unfolding, trust what's leaving, trust what's arriving. And most of all, trust yourself to navigate it all with the wisdom you've earned. I'll see you in the next one.